We will begin by focusing on two relatively short parts of the research report, the title and abstract. Although these sections are brief, they're extremely important because they create the reader's first impression of your work. A well-written title and abstract allows readers to understand the focus and value of your research before they read the full report. By the end of this topic, you will understand how to write a clear and informative title, what information should be included in a qualitative abstract, and what quality make an abstract effective. The title and the abstract are usually among the first parts of a research report. This means that readers may begin forming an opinions about your research before they read the introduction. When someone reads your title in the abstract, they are usually trying to answer several basic questions. What is this report about? What topic or issue was studied? Is the research relevant to what I'm interested in? What did the research find, and why might those findings matter? The title provides the first indication of the research focus. It should immediately orientate the reader toward the main topic, experience, or phenomenon being investigated. The abstract then provides a short overview of the complete study. It allows the reader to understand the purpose, methods, findings, and conclusion without needing to read the whole report first. These two sections, therefore, have related but different functions. The title identified the focus of the research, but the abstract summarized the research as a whole. This is important because readers often use a title and abstract to decide whether they want to continue reading. Researchers also use titles and abstracts to when searching academic database. A vague title or incomplete abstract may make a relevant study difficult to identify, even when the research itself is valuable. The title and abstract should therefore not be treated as minor details added at the end without careful thoughts. They are brief sections, but they represent the whole report. So let us first consider how to develop an effective title. A good research title should be concise, clear, accurate, informative, and aligned with the research question. Being concise means that the title should be brief and focused. It should not include words that do not add useful information. However, concise does not mean vague. A good title should be short but informative. It should include enough details to clearly identify what the research investigates without using unnecessary words. A clear title should be easy to understand. Readers should not need to guess what the study is about. Avoid complicated wording, unexplained abbreviations, or language that is unnecessarily technical. The title must also be accurate. It should reflect what the report actually examines. It should not suggest that the study investigates a wider topic, a different populations, or a stronger conclusion than the research can support. For qualitative research, the title will usually identify the main topic, experience, issue, or phenomenon under consideration. It may also identify the participant group, the context of the study, or analytic approach. Most importantly, the title should be aligned with the research question. The connection between the title and the research question should be immediately recognizable. For example, Imagine that the research question is, how do mature students balance paid work and study? A title such as An Investigation into Mature Students, this is too vague. It identifies the participant group, but it does not explain what aspect of their experience is being investigated. Mature students may be studied in relation to academic achievement, social belonging, mental health, financial pressure, or many other issues. Similarly, a study about work and university gives us two broad topics, but it does not identify the participant or the relationship being explored between those topics. Mature students and time management is slightly more focused, but it may still be inaccurate if the findings concern more than practical time management. For example, the analysis may show that students also experience fatigue, financial pressure, emotional stress, and conflict between different responsibilities. These titles are not necessarily factually incorrect, but they do not give the reader enough information about the particular focus of the research. You should also avoid unnecessary opening phrases such as an investigation into, a demonstration of, or a report about, because the reader already knows that they are reading a research report. So a report about does not provide meaningful information. Removing these unnecessary phrases gives you more space to describe the actual subjects of the research. So consider the stronger example, like balancing paid work and study, a thematic analysis of mature student experiences. This title clearly identifies the central issue, which is balancing paid work and study. It identifies the participant group, mature students, and it also identifies thematic analysis as the analytic approach. So the title is directly aligned with the research question. Another possible title is Managing Competing Demands, Mature Students' Experience of Paid Work and Study. The phrase managing competing demands introduces the main analytic idea. The second part then clarifies the population and context. This is particularly appropriate if the analysis shows that students experience work and study are competing responsibilities. A third option is time, pressure, and responsibilities. Mature students' accounts of balancing work and university. This title highlights three important ideas from the analysis. It may be appropriate if time, pressure, and responsibility are central pattern across the themes. Please note that these stronger titles do not simply name the general topic, they communicate something more specific about how the topic was examined or understood. A column can be useful when writing a qualitative title. The first part can present an engaging analytic idea, while the second part provides more precise information about the participant, context, or methods. However, a column is not compulsory. The most important requirement is that the title accurately and clearly represents the research. Before finalizing your title, compare it directly with your research question, analysis, and conclusion. Ask yourself whether someone who only read the title will have a reasonably accurate understanding of what the study investigated. Once the title has established the focus, the abstract provides the readers with a brief account of the full research process. An abstract is a short, self-contained summary of the whole report. The phrase "whole report" is important. The abstract should not summarize only the introduction, only the methods, or only the findings. It should represent the complete study. It should briefly tell the reader what was investigated, how the study was conducted, what the main findings were, what conclusion was drawn, and why the findings matter. The abstract, therefore, provides a compact version of the overall research story. It begins with the background, problem, and research question. It then explains the method used to investigate that problem. After this, it represents the main findings and concludes by explaining what those findings mean. Although the abstract appears near the beginning of the report, it is usually easier to write it last. This may initially seem unusual. We often assume that we should write the report in the same order in which the section appear. However, you cannot summarize the complete report accurately until the main section has been completed. For example, you might begin the study expecting to develop particular themes, but your analysis may lead to different themes. Your interpretation may also change as you write the analysis and the discussion sections. If you write the abstract too early, it may describe what you intended to find rather than what the complete report actually presents. A practical approach is therefore to complete the introduction, methods, analysis, and discussion first. You can then return to the abstract and identify the most important information from each section. Writing the best abstract last does not mean that it should receive less attention. In fact, summarizing a complete study within a limited number of words can be challenging. You need to make careful decisions about what information is essential and what information can be omitted. To make this decision more manageable, we can consider the key components of a qualitative abstract. A qualitative abstract should usually begin by identifying the problem, topic, or research question. This opening should establish what the study investigated and provide enough context for the reader to understand why the topic is relevant. However, the abstract should not reproduce the full literature review. Usually, one or two concise sentences are sufficient to introduce the focus and end or maybe like backgrounds. For our example, the abstract might begin by stating that mature students frequently combine university study with paid employment and that the study explored how they experienced and managed these competing responsibilities. The abstract should then identify the participants or data sources. This may include the number and characteristics of participants that are relevant to understanding the study. The abstract does not need every detail reported in the participant subsection. Next, identify the study design and method. For example, you might state that the study used the qualitative design and analyzed data from focus group discussions. You should also identify the analytic approach in your current qualitative reports. This is likely to be thematic analysis. If appropriate, You might mention that the analysis followed by broad and close approach. The method should be described concisely. The abstract is not the place to explain every analytic step, every ethical procedure, or every material used in the study. These details belong in the method section. After the method presents the main findings or themes. This is one of the most important parts of the abstract. Avoid writing only that several things were identified. The reader needs to know what the things or findings actually showed. You might briefly name the thing, but name alone may not communicate enough meaning. Where possible, include a short statement explaining the overall pattern across the findings. For example, the analysis might show that mature students manage work and study through constant negotiation between academic deadlines, employment demands, and personal responsibilities. It might also show that this balancing process involves emotional strength and fatigue rather than being only the matters of organizing time. The abstract should then present the overall conclusion. This means explaining the main answer to the research question. The conclusion should be based on full analysis rather than on one isolated quotation or one individual theme. It should capture what the findings suggest when they are considered together. Finally, explain the implications or why the findings matter. This does not need to be a long list of recommendations. One concise statement may be enough. For example, the finding may highlight the importance of understanding mature students' academic experience within the wider context of employment, finance, and personal responsibilities. They may also suggest that universities should consider how academic support can accommodate students managing multiple roles. We can therefore think of the abstract as moving through a clear sequence: the research problem, the participant data, the method, the analysis, the findings, the conclusion, and the implications. Each component should connect logically to the next so that the abstract reads as a coherent summary rather than a disconnected list. Once all of these components have been included, the final step is to check whether the abstract has the qualities expected of strong academic writing. A strong abstract should be accurate, self-contained, concise, readable, and non-evaluative. First, it must be accurate. Every statement in the abstract should reflect information that appears in the report. For example, the participant number must match the number reported in the method section. The thing names should match those presented in the analysis. The conclusion should also be consistent with the interpretation developed in the discussion section. Accuracy is one reason why writing the abstract last is helpful. You can compare each sentence with the complete report and check that there are no inconsistencies. Second, the abstract should be self-contained. It should make sense without requiring the reader to consult the rest of the reports. Avoid unexplained abbreviations, avoid reference to table or appendix, and avoid sentences such as "the result are discussed below." The reader should be able to understand the basic purpose, methods, and findings from the abstract alone. Third, the abstract should be concise, include only the most important information. Concise writing does not mean removing essential details or writing incomplete sentences. It means communicating the essential information efficiently. For example, you do not need to describe every participant's course every coding decision or every limitation. Instead, focus on the information that allows the reader to understand the study as a whole. Fourth, the abstract should be readable. Use clear, direct language and maintain a logical order. Because the abstract contains information from several sections of the report, it can easily become crowded. Clear sentence structure and appropriate linking words can help the reader follow the movement from the research aim to the methods, findings, and conclusion. Finally, the abstract should be non-evaluative. This means that it should report what the study did and what the study found, rather than introducing new personal opinions or unsupported claims. Non-evaluative does not mean that you cannot present an interpretation or conclusion. Qualitative research necessarily involves interpretation. However, the interpretation reported in the abstract must come from the analysis and conclusion already developed in the report. Do not use the abstract to introduce a new argument or a new finding or a new recommendation that is not discussed elsewhere in your reports. A useful final check is to examine every sentence and ask, where does the information appear in my report? If you cannot identify where it has been established, it probably should not be introduced in the abstract. To summarize, the title should clearly identify the focus of the study and align with the research question. The abstract should then provide an accurate and concise overview of the entire report, moving from the research problem and method to the findings, conclusion, and implications. Together, the title and the abstract should give readers a clear first impression of what you investigated, what you found, and why the research mattered.